I'm Jack Kennedy, and they hit a lot harder in my opinion too.
What is up, everybody? My name is Keelan McNamara, and everyone's got a plan until they get hit with my views.
I am Hunter Boss. He just wanted to go to the distance by the looks of it, but he couldn't even do that.
And this is the MMA Island Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. UFC 265 is today. It is fight day. We are very, very, very excited. We're going to go ahead and give you our predictions for the fights to start off this podcast, going into some Luke Rockhold return news against potentially Sean Strickland, which we just saw him fight, talked about him, and our favorite Derek Lewis moment, naturally, as he is fighting in tonight's main event. We have to do that. So let's go ahead and get into it. And the third biggest fight, this card is so stacked, top to bottom. There's so many good fighters on it. And this just shows you that the third fight up the card is Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. So let's start there and predict that. Hunter, who do you think wins that fight?
We haven't seen Chiesa in the octagon for a little bit, but I still believe that Chiesa can do it, and he will do it. I think he's 4-0 at welterweight right now, and he's just looked unstoppable on the ground. So I'm going to go Chiesa, unanimous decision.
Yeah, what a way to kick off the main section of this card. As my boy Jack just said, this card is stacked from pretty much from the bottom to the top, I would say, if you're paying attention. And this fight is another really, really great fight. Michael Chiesa has looked like a new man since moving up to 170 pounds. Like Hunter said, even at 155, 170, he looks unstoppable on the ground. But I'm a big Vicente Luque fan, and you guys know I am firmly on the hype train from Brazil. I think he's a kickboxing genius. I think his stand-up game is second to none. And I think on the ground he is anything but a slouch as well. I'm actually going to see a late knockout for Vicente Luque.
Whoa,
I
all
think
right.
Michael Chiesa shoots in for a takedown, and I think he gets knocked out. Maybe a high kick by Vicente Luque. I think Vicente Luque keeps the momentum rolling straight towards the title. Nobody's got his name in the conversation, and I think he forces himself into the conversation after tonight. Vicente Luque knockout.
I love it. I love it so much. This is fascinating, this fight, because both of these guys are considered right on the fringe of being into that top one fight away, one or two fights away from title shot contention. But both of these guys are almost equal in the momentum that they're riding and where they're at right now, which is what makes this so exciting and a much watch fight. It's so close. I love Vicente Luque, the way he's been able to really rebuild himself, not even rebuild himself, but just shape himself into such a phenomenal fighter. And you see him go out there and just putting away guys like, okay, we'll even say Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley was out there throwing bombs the last time. And when's the last time we've actually seen Tyron Woodley being put away? I mean, he had that rib pop thing against Colby Covington, but that's not really him losing by a real stoppage. This was Vicente Luque actually going out there. We've seen Vicente Luque. He's as tough as they come. He will not quit. On the flip side of that, yes, Vicente Luque has a great ground game, but Michael Chiesa at welterweight is something that we have not seen before. All of these opponents so far have just been absolutely ragdolled with Chiesa's new reinvented ground game and his new strength at 170. I think that strength on the ground and just the skill level that's just that much better than Vicente Luque is going to seal the deal for Michael Chiesa. Vicente Luque is going to be tough and he will not gas out. But when it comes down to it, 2 rounds to 3, I think Vicente Luque might win the third, but I think Chiesa dominates the first two and gets the decision. I'm on the same page as Hunter.
Yeah, that's a good shout because, Chiesa's cardio in his last fight was a little bit questionable. So I like that shout, Jack. I actually agree with it. I think rounds 1 and 2, Chiesa, 3, maybe Luque, but possibly Chiesa could take the whole thing home.
Yeah, I mean it's anything but a bad shout. Like I said, Michael Chiesa, I don't think I've ever seen anybody look as much of a new man moving to a division as Chiesa has at 170. He's always been an amazing fighter and he's finally tapping into his true potential at 170. I give him nothing but credit and my full respect for that. I just think Vicente, I'm not saying that you guys are overlooking Vicente Luque because you're literally doing anything but that. but I think the mainstream are overlooking Vicente Luque so much that it's almost criminal.
Yeah.
And I think Vicente Luque, especially his elbows, I think there's going to be a lot of clinching in this fight as well. Vicente Luque's elbows and his check hooks do a lot of damage if you get caught by them. And one of the issues I have with Michael Chiesa is that his boxing and especially his boxing defense is not amazing. And if it's not on point, he's going to get hurt badly by Vicente Luque with anything that he lands. I can see Vicente Luque cutting Chiesa up quite badly. I can see Chiesa shooting in for that takedown to bring it to the ground. And I think Luque is going to be there and he's going to land. That being said, if the fight hits the deck, my prediction is completely different. Then it is fully in your guys' page. But I think the longer this fight's standing, I think it's Vicente Luque's fight to lose.
Yeah, hey, I really like that. It's just so crazy to see this fight actually be matched up, and we're getting to see it because it is the perfect matchup. It's so rare that you see a matchup like this that is just I just can't think of a better one to put out there. Vicente Luque and the momentum that he is on, and just how peak he looks versus you say the exact same thing. You can't say anything different for Michael Chiesa. Two of the brightest prospects at welterweight right now. And I really do think this fight is going to be insane. And I think regardless of it, neither guy's stock is going to go tremendously down. They're going to be right there. I think both of these guys could beat maybe even like Jorge Masvidal or some of the guys that are up there. We don't really know what Stephen Thompson is going to look like in this next fight. Some of those guys that are already up there. So this fight's going to show a lot about the skill level of them. And if they can really compete with the top of the top at welterweight. And I cannot wait for it. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. That wasn't even the co-main event. Now we're getting into the co-main event. And this fight, if you've been watching the podcast, we have been talking about this fight for so long. Since it's been announced, we've found a way to mention it in almost every single podcast because we're so excited for it. Pedro Munhoz, my guy, I ranked him 4th or 5th in the bantamweight rankings versus Jose Aldo, still one of the toughest guys, one of the most dangerous guys out there. Despite his age, despite what he's doing, he's still there at 135. Should be an absolute war. Hunter, what's your prediction for it?
Man, this is going to be such a fantastic fight. Like Jack has said, we have been waiting for this fight for months. Ever since it was announced, we were just counting down the days until we got to see this fight. And finally, it is today. But when it comes to my prediction, these guys are pretty even when it comes to on paper. I'm pretty sure they're the same age. They've been in the UFC for around the same time. But Jose Aldo's had way more opponents of the higher caliber, in my opinion. But I don't think that's going to stop Pedro Munhoz. I think Pedro Munhoz is an absolute I think he's really a veteran when it comes to sport. Both fighters are, and it's fun to say that. But I think Pedro Munhoz is too tough for Jose Aldo. I don't think he's going to be able to put him away. And I think it's going to be another unanimous decision, Pedro Munhoz, but it's going to be a back and forth brawl to say the least. I think the kicks we're going to see in this match is going to be absolutely insane. If you're talking about leg kicks, I mean, Pedro Munhoz and Jose Aldo, both of the two fighters have put away opponents with leg kicks. They've crippled them to the point where they can't even stand in the octagon. So I'm just going to say, watch out for those leg kicks, watch out for the body kicks, and don't be surprised if a sneaky head kick comes on through.
Oh my God, what a co-main event this is, ladies and gentlemen. I actually think, I don't think you guys are giving yourselves enough credit. I think even before this fight was announced, I think we were calling for this.
We were doing something, yeah.
I'm pretty sure we were. It might. I'm not sure if it was all of us. I think it might have been you two were calling for it for sure. But lordy, what a fight this is. I cannot wait to see this fight. Jose Aldo and Pedro Munhoz are two of the best Brazilian fighters on the planet right now. And they happen to be in the same division. It's perfect. And they are very, very evenly matched. Really, since the Cody Garbrandt fight, we have seen Pedro Munhoz's boxing come on levels. And that is a testament to Pedro Munhoz because he looks so much better in the feet than he used to. He used to be, you guys will remember, he used to be quite reliant on his wrestling and he was always prone to getting quite hurt in the feet. Not the case anymore, ladies and gentlemen, because Pedro Munhoz can more than hold his own. That being said, he is up against one of the most legendary kickboxing Muay Thai fighters there's ever been in Jose Aldo Jr. And I have to give Aldo credit. He has had a bit of a career resurgence and moving down to 135. This is just so tough to call because I can see in my head, I can see either fighter getting their hand raised. I think Pedro Munhoz is so tough that he can grit it out. And I I can see Aldo winning. My problem with Jose Aldo is that the leg kicks are nowhere near as frequent as they used to be. You'll remember with pretty much any fight he ever fought at featherweight, most of his opponents were crippled with their legs being done by the third or the fourth round. We need to see leg kicks back from Aldo. And if those kicks are back, then I think it becomes Aldo's fight to lose. Because one thing people never really gave Aldo credit for, everybody knows how freakish his leg kicks are. I would actually argue he is the most dangerous leg kicks in MMA history because they are devastatingly bad whenever they land. But no one ever gave him credit for how good he is at actually checking leg kicks too. He's good at giving them. He's very good at taking them as well. So I think he's talented enough to nullify Munoz's leg kicks in this fight. And if he brings his own leg kicks to the party this time, then Munoz is in pretty serious trouble because Aldo is like a sniper with his legs. He can pick out your calf, he can pick out the back of your leg, and it is done for you if he starts unloading on you. And I haven't even talked about his boxing, precise, clean, powerful. I see Aldo getting a finish here. I think Jose Aldo wins.
Let's go. Oh my gosh, guys, what a fight. What a fight night again. I mean, we just build up to this for the co-main event. This wasn't originally even the co-main event, which is shocking. But it absolutely deserves to be. This fight is just a guaranteed war. I think you can say that about very few fights, but this is guaranteed to just be an absolute. They're going to go in there and just stand and bang. It's so fun seeing them for this fight week. You see Jose Aldo getting onto the bus and everything. They're just both smiling and having fun because they know whenever they go in there, it's going to be fireworks. It's such a fun fight. And it's really ideally the perfect matchup for each guy too, because you're having someone that will go into your style and just do what you want to do, which is stand and just throw everything that you have. It's going to be fun to watch. So whenever you're breaking this down, I love what Keelan said about the kicks for Jose Aldo, and I completely agree with that. What I would love to see Jose Aldo do is kind of, if we've seen what Edson Barbosa's done at 145, especially in his recent fights, where he's gone back to his old style, which is where you're not as worried as gassing out as he used to. He was worried about gassing out, so he reserved so much of his style that he was losing decisions that I think he won, but they were close enough to where the judges could see it going to the other person. He was losing all these close decisions. What he did in his last couple of fights is he's gone back to vintage Edson Barbosa, which is the quick kids, the flashy stuff. And when doing so, he's actually looked not less with less cardio, but with at least equal amount, if not more, because he's doing what he wants to do. Now, cardio has never really been too much of a factor for Jose Aldo, but what I want to see is him just go back to his old style. Even with an older age, go back to his old style and see what happens. Now, the reason I mentioned age here also is because for me, and this is something I like to say a lot, and it's, questionable, but for me, fight age is a lot different than your actual physical age.
Yes,
now, Pedro Munoz and Jose Aldo are, I think Pedro Munoz might even be a little bit older than Jose
Both
Aldo.
32.
They're the same age in physical age. That's crazy. That's insane, actually. How is Jose Aldo 32? But yeah, they're the same physical age. But look at what Jose Aldo has done throughout his career and just physically the absolute wars he's been in. He's been at the top of the game for a very, very, very long time. Now, Pedro Munoz has been fighting for a while as well, but not near as much as Jose Aldo has, and not in the UFC near as long either. So Pedro Munoz, I say, is a lot fresher, and that's why he looks like a new up-and-coming fighter, which 32, by the way, he could be in his prime right now.
Oh, it's not 32. They're both 34. My bad.
34. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Make the point.
Yeah. But Pedro Munoz at 34 is actually not that bad.
It's still not that bad.
It's not bad at all. And he has, in his fight age, is really not near what Jose Aldo's is, and it's not near what a lot of the top at 135 is. So he's still a developing fighter, and he's been getting better in every single one of his fights. I mean, the Cody Garbrandt fight shows a lot about Pedro Munoz, even though it was a compromised Cody Garbrandt. He ate Cody's best shots and delivered his own and knocked him out. So we know Pedro Munoz can absolutely brawl. He lost to Frank Yeager, but that was a very, very close split decision. And then he just fought again and won a dominant decision. So we know he can win a decision or at least compete all the way through a decision. And if it goes to that brawling situation, you're going to have some special power to put him out. And we haven't seen anyone be able to do that in recent times with Pedro Munoz. So the kicks are a very important factor, but and like Hunter brought up, Pedro Munoz kicks are phenomenal as well. So that's something Jose Aldo has to look out. They're going to be chopping at each other. I don't see this fight going the distance. Now, it very well could, but I see it as a third round TKO for Pedro Munoz, just because I think his boxing will just be an inch more sharper than Jose Aldo's whenever it comes down to it. And whenever they're in a wild situation, I think the first 2 rounds, it might be a bit of a build up to it, but I think there's going to be some wild exchanges in there. And I think a wild exchange in the third round might catch Jose Aldo. And then once someone's caught, I mean, Pedro Munoz will finish you by swarming it. And I just think he's a fresher guy. But just talking about the implications for this fight as well. Both of these guys, with the way the bantamweight division is right now and with the results we literally just saw in the last fight night, 2 fight nights ago, the winner of this fight propels themselves right into one fight away in title contention, or who knows with the bantamweight division. Even if like another fight, if fights pull out, they could be a backup for a main event after this fight and stuff like that. This fight, the implications are absolutely massive, and I will say this again. I've been saying this for months now as we've been talking about it. This is an absolute must watch because this fight will be fireworks from the very beginning to the very end for however long it lasts.
Yeah, no, nothing else to be said right there. But let me tell you how close these fights are really actually. When we take a look at the Vicente Luque versus Michael Chiesa match, they are both minus 110. So it's a coin flip at the odds of the bookies. When we take a look at Pedro Munoz versus Jose Aldo, that's minus 120 against even, which is so Jose Aldo is just a slight favorite, barely even anything. So these are how close these matches are going to be. So the reason we're disagreeing and we're having so much trouble just picking someone to win is because these matches are so close. Like these are like the best matchups possible for this weight division right now. Like the matchmakers really did a number on this one. This is a fantastic way to go. And I'd also like to just touch on the leg kicks one more time. Jose Aldo is more of like a higher to the leg, more like a thigh kick almost. And then we take a look at Pedro Munoz down at American Top Team. They've been training for those calf kicks forever now. You know, we've seen it with Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor, and we see it against countless other people in the American Top Team. But I think Pedro Munoz utilizes those calf kicks better than anyone I've seen in the division. So just watch out. I mean, we've known Jose Aldo to have some of the greatest leg kicks in all of UFC, but I think Pedro Munoz is going to be surprisingly difficult to put away in this match.
Yeah, man, I have no disagreements with that whatsoever. Pedro Munoz is one tough cookie, and anybody who says otherwise, I'm not even going to get into that. But this could be fight of the night right here. I really, really think this could be. And the implications for the title picture at 135 are just too big to even contemplate at this point. I think my head might explode everywhere. But I am so looking forward to this. The thing is, I'm going to touch on the leg kicks one more time as well, just before we move on, because I think they're probably going to end up being the key factor to whoever wins this fight. I really agree with everything Hunter's just said about Pedro Munoz and American Top Team, because he is right. The guys at ATT generally tend to target the calf, which is obviously much lower down in the body. What you have to remember about Jose Aldo's leg kicks, though, is that if he lands in the calf, or if he lands on the thigh, they completely shut your leg down if they land clean, because a lot of nerves run through your thigh down to the back of your knee. We saw it with Anthony Smith against Jimmy Crute, if you remember. Yeah. He landed that leg kick and Crute's leg the system completely shut down. If Aldo's leg kicks, when they land properly, they don't just hurt your leg and you're not just hobbling around on one leg. He shuts your leg off completely. You cannot put anything through that because your brain will not process the weight to it. If Aldo brings those leg kicks back and we start seeing vintage Jose Aldo again, I love the Edson Barbosa point, Jack. If we start seeing vintage Aldo 135 really needs to look out if that's the case, because he can still do damage against people. I'm not mad at the Munoz prediction. I'm going to go the exact other way. I think Jose Aldo third round knockout.
Yeah, hey, I love it. I mean, just an absolutely amazing fight. Cannot wait to see it. The odds are so close for all of these, just like Hunter said. And we still have a main event to predict. Derek Lewis is in his hometown of Houston to fight against Cyril Gahn for the heavyweight interim title. Look, you can talk about the interim title, debate it all you want. Even I don't think it should be there, but it is there, and it just makes it more exciting. It's going to be an amazing fight. Who do we think wins?
This is a tough one because when you really break it down, you see so many posts on Instagram saying, Cyril Gahn's got better striking accuracy. He could throw from anywhere. He's got better ground game. He's got better clenches. But when it really comes down to it, that's not what it's about in this fight. It's about experience and it's about the timing of each fighter. Like Conor McGregor has said, timing beats speed, or timing beats
precision beats
power, timing beats speed. There we go. Sorry, I got to mix up my head.
Come on.
I know. I hate to quote Conor McGregor right now.
That's not the same Conor though.
That was good Conor. No, but when it comes down to the point I was trying to make is I think Derek Lewis's fight time and just experience in the octagon is going to pay dividends in this fight. I think he looks a lot better cardio wise. I think he looks a lot more in shape when he came to the weigh-ins. He actually didn't have to cut too much weight to this because usually when he steps in the octagon, he's somewhere around 280 pounds, and that's way above weight as it is. But when he steps in the octagon today, it's going to be more just a 265, maybe 268. Nothing too different. His cardio is going to be a lot better. I think. Unlike the previous matches, the betting line for this one, Derek Lewis is a humongous underdog. I think he's plus 295. That's the biggest underdog on this card, and it's his hometown where he's the biggest underdog on the card. So it's kind of a crazy series of events we have happening here, but I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Derek Lewis. I think he's going to be able to find a strike somewhere in the second or third round. Even if he has to push the pace to the fourth or fifth, I think he'll still find that knockout. Yeah, we've seen in his previous fights against Volkov and just plenty of other people, he can find that knockout anytime in this fights, whether it be third round, fourth round, whatever. I mean, he knocked out Curtis Blades, I think, in the third round. He knocked out Alexander Volkov in the third round. I'm going to expect a third round knockout here. I think he's going to have some trouble in the first two rounds. He's going to find his footing in the third round, and he's going to find his strike in that round as well. So I'm going to go big right hand, Derek Lewis, third round.
You guys know how much I love Derek Lewis. I mean, Derek Lewis is my guy. He's everybody's guy, but he is my guy. But I don't think he's winning this fight. And there's two big reasons why. And I'm going to tell you right now, of course. The first reason is this. What's the one factor that's common to every big Derek Lewis knockout? He's always fought a wrestler who shot in against him and given him the space to throw the shot. Cyril Gahn is not going to shoot in and give him that opportunity. Derek Lewis is going to have to chase this knockout. And when have we ever seen him chase a knockout with the greatest of respect? We haven't.
Volkov.
Yeah, but Volkov
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
that was a shot that was breaking off the clinch. Gahn ain't going to clinch here. The second reason.
I don't know about that. I think Gahn might clinch actually, because that wears on the gas tank. Yeah. Anyways, keep going. I don't know.
Sorry to interrupt.
Know about that. I'm sorry. I don't know about that.
Sorry, Keelan. Go ahead, man. We're sorry.
my second reason to my now tattered argument.
It's all hypothetical. We don't know.
Yeah, it's hypothetical. It's a fight. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Cyril Gahn is probably the most sophisticated striking heavyweight we've ever seen at any point in the UFC ever. Yeah. Hunter made the point that he can hit you from anywhere and he can land anything. And the reason he said it is because it's true. Derek Lewis, to his immense credit, again, I love Derek Lewis. He did knock out Alexander Volkov, and that was very impressive. But Cyril Gahn dominated Volkov. Let's not forget something here. Derek Lewis was getting battered by Volkov, and he was 10 seconds away from losing a massive decision. Cyril Gahn fought a heavyweight who had a 2 or 3 inch reach advantage over him, probably a 4 or 5 inch height advantage, and he outboxed him for 5 straight rounds. He out-kickboxed him, he outboxed him. If he can do that against a guy with a massive height and reach advantage over him, what do you think he's going to do to a guy who has the same measurements? Realistically, all the signposts point to Cyril Gahn winning here, and I actually think the betting odds here are pretty fair. Because again, much as I love Derek Lewis, I will never take anything away from him. I think he's one of the realest guys in the game right now. He's one of the most successful one-dimensional fighters there's ever been. Because with respect, all he has is his right hand. That's it. He's not going to out leg kick you. He's not going to out wrestle you. He's not. He's definitely not going to out jiu-jitsu you because all he has to do is stand up from guard. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is, I think Cyril Gane is going to win a dominant decision here because I just think he's going to completely out kickbox him. If it does get to the fourth or fifth round and Derek has to chase him, I think he could get popped. I think he could get hurt. Cyril Gane is an absolute sniper. I've talked about his Savate kickboxing a couple of times on the podcast, and it's as sophisticated as you will find anywhere with anybody. I honestly, I know I'm sort of stepping out of my journalist side here. As the fan in me wants Derek Lewis to win, just because Lewis representing the UFC is the greatest image I can ever think of. But my head tells you that Cyril Gane's going to absolutely dismantle him.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's the smart decision, the smart pick right there. And Keelan, you're gonna find this hilarious, but I actually do agree with you. Even though I was saying it, but look, I'm on the
trade now.
Look. I know, Hunter. I know. By the way, this is, I think, one of the first podcasts where every single one there was at least one of us that was different on another side of the pick, which I guess it would be because there's three of us. But this just shows you how insane this fight card is.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think Cyril Gane is just so well rounded everywhere. And Keelan, I don't know if he's the most, but he's definitely up there, top three for the most technical strikers, best strikers that we've seen in the heavyweight division ever. I mean, just what he's able to do, how light he's able to be on his feet, how fast he's able to do, the strikes he's able to throw, with how absolutely massive he is a sight to behold. And there's a reason he's fighting for this interim belt. But his ground game and his wrestling is also very, very good. I think someone like Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane would be his nightmare matchup, not Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis landed that uppercut because Curtis Blades didn't really understand process that he was winning comfortably on the feet and he didn't need to shoot in. So he went to his natural instinct, shot in, and got caught. A guy like Cyril Gane will pick you apart at the things that you are good at, which is terrifying. And it's something that I think very few will be able to do against him. Now, I am agreeing with Hunter, though. I think the opportunities will be there for Derek Lewis to land a big shot. But my thing is, and this is a shocking opinion, I think Cyril Gane will not get one punch KO'd from Derek Lewis, because I think whenever it will happen, we'll be out of the clinch in a situation where, it'll happen maybe once. If it happens two times, okay, that it's game over. But I think maybe it happens one time at some point in between rounds 3 and 5. And I think he takes it and maybe gets rocked and dropped. But I think then on the ground, Derek Lewis is out of his element because Cyril Gane is still big there and can work his way up and will be able to avoid the shots. I think, and he hasn't, the thing with Cyril Gane also is he hasn't been in trouble really throughout his career. He's been able to just walk through everybody. So his chin is fresh, which is so key because everyone else in the heavyweight division, one shot. I'm saying literally one shot. Like some people a jab and they're done. I think Cyril Gane might be able to eat not his biggest overhand right, but out of the clinch, like the shot that dropped Volkov, might be able to eat that and survive and make it longer. And then win the fight, just being so technical. What he's going to do is he's going to chop the legs. He's going to work the body. The headshots will open up from there. And once he does that, I mean, look at Travis Brown versus Derek Lewis. There's no way Derek Lewis should have won that fight because he was getting absolutely worked to the body. But hey, that might be a point for Derek Lewis, though, because even though he's losing completely terribly, he'll find a way and win it. But I just see Cyril Gane just being so technical and so good everywhere and just so fresh. He does not tire. We just saw that against Volkov. By the way, that was a sneaky good fight night main event, seeing two of the top at heavyweight go at two of the most technical strikers, because I think those are the two top technical strikers at heavyweight right now. And we just saw what Cyril Gane did in that fight, which is huge. And I do love Derek Lewis, but I just don't think if he's what he's going to have to do is start rushing in, and that's not his style. And especially if it's in the 4th and the 5th round, there's a huge difference between 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. I actually don't know if Derek Lewis will be able to survive that long, but seeing as he's in his hometown, I'm going to say Cyril Gahn by a decision, but Derek Lewis gets 1 round because of the drop. That's my official prediction. But hey, this fight, you have to watch it again because it's Derek Lewis. Anything can happen. I mean, look at Cyril Gahn too. It's going to be an absolute, it's going to be an amazing fight, and just a great way to top off the card for sure.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with any of those points. Like as we've all said before, these fights are going to be close. But I think there's one thing that's going to be happening in this fight that's going to be detrimental. I think this fight's going to turn into a Derek Lewis needs this fight to turn into a brawl, not a fight.
Yes, you're
I
right.
think Cyril Gahn is going to win every single round except the round he doesn't. When he doesn't win that round, that's going to be detrimental because I think Lewis is such a great finisher that all he needs is one strike, and then he has that devastating right hand to put you to sleep when you're on that ground. The ground and pound from the Black Beast is absolutely insane. So when it really comes down to it, I think Cyril Gahn, fantastic striker, fantastic on the ground. But like we've said in the past, if Derek Lewis doesn't want to be on the ground, he just chooses to stand up. I mean, he's that strong. It's not just that he doesn't have much technique or anything like that. He's just one of the strongest people in that division where he can just get up from any position he needs to. So when he's on the ground on his back, he's really just taking a breather, like from I've seen from the previous fights. And Derek Lewis has his own fight IQ. It's weird to put it this way because it's going to sound funny. It's going to sound stupid. But if we take a look at the Travis Brown fight, he was getting pieced up in the body. And then the next fight, his next opponent tried throwing to the body and he possummed. He acted like he was super hurt and then throws a humongous right hand.
I forgot about that.
Who calls Derek Lewis like just not like smart in the octagon, he just relies on his right hand, is an idiot because Derek Lewis knows what he's doing. He may put on the face of, my balls was hot, this and that. I need to go take a shit, that type of shit. But Derek Lewis is just putting that facade on. And when he gets in the octagon, he's no longer Derek Lewis. He's the Black Beast. And you guys will see that tonight. Once again, I'm calling it Derek Lewis, round 3 knockout.
All right. Hey, you made a good case. I mean, that's phenomenal. It doesn't get better than that.
That has to be the most brilliantly humorous presented argument I've ever heard. You know what, Hunter? Props to you. I do
what I can. I'm a big Derek Lewis fan.
Dude, I don't even care. I'm giving him a point for that because that was brilliant. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I love Derek Lewis, and I'll never speak bad of the guy because I respect him a hell of a lot. And Hunter made some great points about his IQ as well. A lot of people think he's just this humorous, bumbling dumbass who has a right hand, and he absolutely isn't. It is a very, very good point. He genuinely isn't. But the problem is, fight IQ or not, he does only have one weapon, which he does use very well, but he only has one weapon, and it is his right hand. Cyril Gahn also is one of the highest fight IQs in the heavyweight division. He knows that's his only weapon, and he's not going to put himself in a position where he can be caught. If you look at Volkov, even whenever they were clinching, Gahn's head positioning was perfect, right into the chest where he can't be hit with one of them check hooks. All common sense says that if he can beat a sophisticated fighter like Volkov, Lewis shouldn't be much of a challenge on the face of things. But again, this is Derek Lewis we're talking about. He does find a way to grit it out, and he does find a way to win. Unfortunately for Derek Lewis, I just don't think he gets the job done here because I can't see how he does. I gotta admit, I do think he makes the Gracies lose sleep at night, knowing that he broke jiu-jitsu for them because he just stands up from guard. I love that. But there comes a point where the fun and games are over and you have to find a way to beat your opponent. And I don't see in the realm of reasonability and possibility how Derek Lewis gets this done. I want him to as a fan, I suppose. But the journalist in me and the sort of like mixed martial arts head on me, I just don't see how he gets it done. I think Cyril Gahn's going to go in. It's going to be professional. It's going to be clean. And I can only see him getting a dominant decision. And the other thing as well is whenever we've seen Derek Lewis get hurt to the body, like the Travis Brown fight, even though he played possum and he played it perfectly, shout out Ion Kuchalaba, you might want to learn how to play possum, by the way. Derek Lewis did it perfectly, but he was starting to lose energy and it was starting to sap quite badly. Derek Lewis, what I'm going to say to end this point basically is because there's a lot of things I could say. I'm going to say a lot of Hunter's point because I think Hunter summed this up really, really well. And if it's all right with you, I am actually going to piggyback off it a little. Derek Lewis needs this to turn into a brawl This cannot be a mixed martial arts contest for Derek Lewis. This needs to be a street fight. Because if that's a street fight, then you're literally in Derek Lewis's backyard. It is his territory. It's what he loves doing. If this is anything other than a street fight, Cyril Gane wins all day and all night. But if if Derek Lewis can drag him down into the gutter and make this a fight, then Derek Lewis does have every chance. That being said, I'm sticking with the guy I drafted initially. I think Cyril Gane gets the job done.
Wow, Healing, you brought up the thing that like how could Derek Lewis get it done? And I mean, it's I can't, for me in my mind, I can't see it happening either. But in my heart, what happens is Derek Lewis lands that miracle right hand somehow. He somehow finds a way. He'll be throwing it and whiffing all night, but somehow one time it lands, and that could do it. No, I'm not changing my pick at all. I'm sticking with Cyril Gane, but I'm just saying that I was about to double cross both of you there for a second. No, but that is what could happen. And that is why we all love Derek Lewis. And that's why you have to watch, because that right miracle hand could land. And then the next podcast, we're all talking about it again. Our minds completely blown because the Black Beast will be the interim champion. And we get a rematch of Derek Lewis versus Ngannou, and hopefully that one is not like the first one because they're different now. So let's go ahead. let's go ahead and move on. Yeah. So Sean Strickland just got an amazing win. We just saw that happen. We just talked about that on the last podcast. Luke Rockhold has not been fighting recently, and when he has been fighting, been getting knocked out by Jan Blachowicz climbing up the ranks, and everybody's been knocking Luke Rockhold out. But now he's looking to make a return. He's taking some time off, and he will be facing Sean Strickland, or they're working on Sean Strickland being his comeback opponent. What do we think about this?
I like it for both fighters, really. I mean, if you're Sean Strickland in your shoes, you need a big name to win over, and a former UFC middleweight champion is a great name to win over. So Luke Rockhold's been known to get knocked out in the past. Sean Strickland's a fantastic knockout artist. If you're Sean Strickland, do you want this fight? If you're Luke Rockhold, this is a perfect way to get back in the picture. Sean Strickland's been on a fantastic win streak lately. He's just starting to get his name out there. I mean, that last UFC event, though it might not seem as entertaining now, it got a lot of big numbers. I think it got 790,000 viewers. So a lot of people know Sean Strickland now. He's on the page. People know of him. And Luke Rockhold to go back in there and not face the top of the top competition. He's just still facing a number, maybe I think 8 contender. I think that's a good comeback fight for Luke Rockhold. I think Luke Rockhold has been working on his striking a lot lately. He's working with Michael Bisping from what I saw from Instagram. And his wrestling has always been such a great factor in his fights. I think Luke Rockhold really likes his fight. I don't really have a prediction right now, but I think it's a fantastic fight to make. And once again, the matchmakers have done it right.
Luke the Samurai Rockhold. He conceived, he believed, and he achieved, and he has now got a top 10 opponent as he wanted. I like this fight. I do. And I like it for the point that I've literally just made. He wanted a top 10 opponent. Here you are. You've literally got a guy in the bottom end of the top 10 scale, and you've got a guy who is an absolute beast in Sean Strickland. A guy with relentless forward driving pressure, and a guy who's a vicious knockout artist as well. If you're Sean Strickland, you love this call out. You really, really do. And you love it because Luke Rockhold is nowhere near the same fighter he was before, but he's still a big enough name that he carries a lot of weight in that division. So if you're Sean Strickland, you are rubbing your hands together, and he's probably signed the contract already, because if I was him, I would. This is the perfect fight for Sean Strickland. Even stylistically, Luke Rockhold generally loves controlling the pace and controlling the tempo. Sean Strickland will literally walk through a firing squad because he just doesn't care. He will walk through anything to keep the pressure going. And I don't think Luke Rockhold's going to be able to manage that terribly well. He likes fighting on the front foot. He likes landing those kicks and those punches on his own terms, not on someone else's. And Sean Strickland's really good at taking your fight away from you. So it's a good fight for both guys. But if I'm Rockhold, I'm probably regretting making the call out, because I think it's a far more difficult matchup for Rockhold than it is for Strickland. If you're Strickland, you are probably loving this call out because, like I just said, big name, stylistically, you can impose your game in his. And I'm not even going to talk about Luke Rockhold's chin because we've made enough jokes about it over the last few months. But let's just say Sean Strickland can get to it, and Sean Strickland can definitely get the job done. But Luke Rockhold can't really complain because he's literally spent the last 4 or 5, if not longer, months demanding a top 10 opponent or to be released. Mr. Rockhold, you've got what you wanted. So I'm really looking forward. I think this fight will happen, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. At this moment, I would certainly back Sean Strickland, though.
Yeah, hey, I'm on the same page as you guys, especially Keelan. I think that's a perfect breakdown of it. What I see this fight as is it's a showcase fight for Sean Strickland because if he wins it, it's a great win. But I also don't think Luke Rockhold is a top 10 fighter in middleweight today. Now, this would be the fight to prove me wrong on that. But from where I'm at, from what I've seen, this is not, I mean, this is a great decision for Luke Rockhold if he wants to come back in because this is the fight to do it. But I don't see him getting the win here. This is a showcase fight for Sean Strickland, but it's also the perfect fight for Luke Rockhold to prove everybody wrong and come back to the middleweight division, to the top of it. Sean Strickland's looked phenomenal, but he's not a specialist in any area, which I think that fight, if you fought a specialist in any area, would be a disaster for Luke Rockhold. It's a weird thing, but even if he fought Jacare Souza, I think that would be a worse matchup than Sean Strickland right now at the moment, too. Not because I think Sean Strickland wouldn't beat Jacare Souza if they matched up, just because of how specialized Jacare Souza is and how good he is at the specific thing, and where Luke Rockhold would have to be hesitant in any way. That being said, on any given night, 9.5 times out of 10, I prefer Sean Strickland over Luke Rockhold. Until I see Luke Rockhold really getting back. I mean, we've seen some phenomenal training videos, some question mark kicks that he's getting back to and everything. He looks good, but there's a big difference between training and actually fighting in MMA. We've seen so many fighters talk about it, how, whenever you start aging and everything, and if you do retire, I mean, Luke Rockhold never officially retired, but if you do retire and then you take time off but you're training, you feel like you're at your peak, you feel like you're doing amazing, then you step in there. But once you step in there, it's a totally different game, and that's where people start to get hurt. Now, I don't think that's where Luke Rockhold is at, but what I'm saying is I don't think that he is what he used to be. I mean, that's obvious, but yeah. I think that he's not going to be able to compete with the top guys over there at middleweight. And I think for Sean Strickland, this is the fight to take because you get to beat a guy, Luke Rockhold, who's making his comeback, the former middleweight champion of the world, one of the best middleweights in the UFC. And if he wins, that's another fight that propels him up there for potentially top 5 opponents, top 6, 7 at the minimum opponents. And then he starts working his way up to a title shot again. And middleweight is really becoming a division with some depth to it. Finally, we're getting some good fighters in there, and Sean Strickland has a lot of room to work, and this fight would be ideal. Another thing that's good for Sean in this fight, he has a lot of momentum going into it. This is not a Sean Strickland off of a couple losses facing a comeback in Luke Rockhold. This is a Sean Strickland who just beat Uriah Hall 50-45 is what it should have been on all judges' scorecards. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. It's an interesting matchup. But I think we're all kind of on the same page with it as far as the implications of it and everything breaking down. To end this podcast off, guys, let's do a little quick segment. And this one's going to be a very fun one, as Derek Lewis is in the main event. He's one of everybody's favorite fighters. What is our favorite Derek Lewis moment? It could be something he said. It could be a performance. Hunter, what's your favorite Derek Lewis moment?
I've got to go with, the obvious choice here. I think I'm going to say the knockout over Alexander Volkov and then the post-fight interview after that. I mean, such adversity he fought through in that fight to end up winning that fight in the last 10 seconds of the fight, when he was getting pieced up and absolutely just destroyed on the feet. Really, there's no other better way to put it. And he comes back and lands a great 1-2 and some devastating ground and pound. And I remember watching it live because it was the Conor McGregor versus Khabib card, and it was just insane. All my friends and I, we were all going insane over it. And then the thing that made the whole night, though, was the Derek Lewis interview afterwards. We see him walking around in his underwear, and Joe Rogan's just confused as hell, and he's looking down and he's like, what's happening? And, Derek, why'd you take your pants off? And as many people know, his balls were indeed quite hot that night.
And Joe Rogan understood as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Quite professional. Derek Lewis always. That's my favorite moment. My balls was hot. It's a classic, and that line will be quoted throughout the rest of UFC history.
Dude, every time Joe Rogan opens his mouth, he raises more questions about himself than answers. Man, where do you even start with Derek Lewis? I have so many that I could pick. There's just so many. In a way, I've kind of cheated because I have two that I like. One of them's a little bit of one of them's much bigger than the other. Let's put it that way. The little one is, I'm completely blanking on the opponent. I don't know why, but after the fight where Paul Felder's talking to him and he says he needs to take a, what?
Alexei Olenek.
Alexei Olenek. That's
was that the one?
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought that was also Travis Brown. I thought that was whenever Travis Brown was kicking him. He was like, "Were those body shots hurting you?" And
nah, that was too long ago.
That was.
I think.
Did he do it twice?
Yeah.
Did he say it
No,
two
I
times?
think Keelan, are you talking about the recent time he said he wants to take a shit, or the old time he wanted to take a shit?
Part of this is it's in relation to how lovable Derek Lewis is in social media. Because in the post-fight press conference, I think it was the Olenek fight, he says a line that's forgotten by a lot of people. He obviously says, I had to take shit, and I couldn't shit myself in the octagon because these people on the internet with memes and shit.
Oh, that was Travis Brown then.
That was Travis Brown. Yeah, that's the moment I always remember from that fight because he's so aware of memes and because he's always doing it to everybody else, he knew he couldn't do it there. And it's such a lovable moment of self-awareness in a weird way from Derek. That's why I love that fight. My second one's far more recent, and it's not anything from the Volkov fight because I'm not going to cheat. Hunter already did that, and I'm not taking that from him. I swear to God. It's actually on Twitter, and it's to do with the whole John Jones and Ngannou controversy. John Jones, as we know, has held up the division, refused an $8 million fight offer, and has basically ruined the division without even stepping foot. What does Captain Derek Lewis do to save the day? I'll do it for 8 million. That is my moment with Derek Lewis because it literally sums up Derek Lewis better than anything ever could. I absolutely love the guy, and that's my funniest moment from Derek Lewis so far because there's going to be many, many more.
Oh, I love it. I mean, if Derek Lewis wins against Ciryl Gane, that might be the number one moment because the absolute insanity, the carnage that would ensue after would be too crazy. I hate to do this, but Hunter, I have to agree with what you said. I would love to choose another moment.
Don't hate it. It's one of the greatest.
There's been there's been so many moments throughout Derek Lewis' career on his Instagram, on Twitter. You could go through any day and find something that's just elite. But the thing is with the Volkov and that post-fight interview, can you think of a more vintage Derek Lewis moment? Like when you think of Derek Lewis, you think of last-minute knockouts where he should have absolutely no chance. Like he should have been finished in the first round, but somehow he pulled it off. And then an insane thing that he said in the post-fight interview that's just leaving everybody going, what did that just actually happen? And that's what that was. I mean, I'm not going to explain it too much because you said it perfectly, but that is just, if you ever want to understand Derek Lewis as much as anyone could possibly understand Derek Lewis, that's the fight to do. Volkov looked like the best Volkov we've ever seen. And somehow in the last 10 seconds, literally the last 10 seconds, Derek Lewis throws a big right hand out of the clinch, drops him, finishes him. Everybody loses their mind. It's one of the most insane comebacks ever you will literally ever see. Then the post-fight interview, I mean, that's just Derek Lewis. That is Derek Lewis embodied in one moment, in one fight. If you could choose one fight to describe Derek Lewis, that is the fight to describe Derek Lewis because that just fits everything you like. Derek Lewis, that's it. That's all it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually, sorry, man, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, Jack alluded to it, but if he does end up winning against Ciryl Gane tonight, I think that would be my favorite moment. He's winning the interim title in his hometown. That means he is a representative of the UFC, like officially on a big scale, and everyone's gonna have to go back to the moment when he took the pants off, and they will all see it, and they're gonna be like, "Who the hell is this guy? And why is he such a good fighter?" So sorry to interrupt. Keelan, go ahead.
No, man. If Derek Lewis wins tonight, nobody cares about the Rockets, no one cares about the Texans, and no one cares about the Astros. Derek Lewis is carrying Houston on his back by himself.
Yep.
I have two more sort of bonus moments that I thought I'd mention really quickly because it just popped into my head whenever you're talking. The first one is from 229 in the Volkov interview, and it's the line about Donald Trump.
Oh
You
yeah,
might remember
forgot about
Donald
that.
Trump called me and told me to knock this Russian motherfucker out. And then please hire Derek Lewis because you need him there. That was incredible. The second one is actually from his Instagram, and this is more of an obscure point. This is just a post of Derek Lewis's that I really love.
Fantastic.
And I think it was after the Volkov fight. You guys will probably remember this, but for those who don't, there's a post where he's wearing a sort of suit and he's wearing these glasses and he's got a champagne. And I said, "Oh hi, I'm Derek Lewis." People think I'm unsophisticated and I'm not sensitive, and I'm known for posting booty videos. And he said, "But I'm sensitive." And he's in like this real white neighborhood, and he's like, "Hello, white people."
Hello, white people.
And then, and then after he says like, "Oh, F this shit," and he throws it all away.
He grabs a beer. That's the best part, and then he starts chugging it. Like, Derek, can you put the beer down? Derek, put the beer down.
Oh my gosh. Derek Lewis, I love him so much. That if I had to pick a social media moment, that's right up there. But if he does win tonight, make no mistake, that will be moment number one, and I will be so happy for him. I really will.
I mean, just how could you go wrong with that? And you have the "he's okay, she's okay" on his Instagram. I mean,
knocking a robber out, knocking the guy trying to steal his car.
See that? Did you see that? Yeah. I mean, he just posted a video of like a girl who's on her car and like she's on the hood of her car and then falls off and the car runs over her and she's like, she's okay. This is Derek Lewis. This is what's going on. We didn't officially laugh at that, by the way. That did not happen.
We do not condone Derek Lewis.
I don't do that.
She is okay. It is not. Yeah, exactly. But that is Derek Lewis. Yeah. Well, hey guys. Fantastic podcast. Great stuff. The fights tonight are going to be amazing. It's literally a matter of hours now. We're going to get this published as soon as possible so you guys can see the picks, but you'll probably be seeing them right before the fights are starting. So get hyped, get ready to go. It's going to be amazing. Thank you everyone so much for listening. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at mma.island and check out our website, mmaisland.net. And as always, listen. Oh, I didn't do this part. As always, listen to us everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. There we go, Keelan. Thank you again, everyone, so much for listening. Great podcast, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, everybody.